Trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, levels of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest your money that you cannot afford to lose. You should always be aware of the risks associated with foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts or questions. And this is a live trading room. It's for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendation will be provided. Any trade taken during the live session is not a recommendation or suggestion that you should do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money that you cannot afford to lose. And before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. All right, so we got that out of the way. And I guess everybody can hear me now. Like I said, I need to turn my mic on, helps. Okay, we have a screen right now. We were looking at a couple different charts. Right now we have a US, we just got another alert for the US Swiss. We had a US yen at 715 and a US CAD at 645. Right now the US CAD is just coming up onto the wedge where we were looking at, where I was looking at taking it. We had the alert. Here's where the alert was. Here's going to be the target area if it breaks through the top. And right now, all the moving averages are looking to be to the upside. I would like to see a break and close above this. Actually, right now, I'd like to see it. Now, this was my original entry level, to see it close above that. I don't know if it's going to get there or not. It's been a little while since we had a, here's my anchor, here's my hit, and actually if this thing comes, I can take this thing on down as long as it maintains this trend line. Then I'm going to say that it can close above this area. I like to see it. Yeah, I like to see it close above that before we take it long. It has been somewhat range bound here. The U.S. yen, that one is already coming up. It already kind of hit where my target was. I'm already out of this trade. And that was, my target was basically the 62 moving average. That one, as far as I'm concerned, that one's done. Let's go take a look at the U.S. Swiss, since that's the one that just alerted at 8 o'clock. It's descending wedge. Let me get a U.S. Swiss on board here. And let's see, U.S. Swiss right here. We said it was a descending wedge at 8 o'clock. So let me go and put the, so we're going to draw a vertical line. There's 8 o'clock, descending. So this is the wedge. This is the area we're looking at here. I'm going to put my triangle descending. I'm going to start my A up at the top. I'm going to bring it down to the pivot low of the overnight session, which is right here. I'm going to bring this thing up to tuck this in as close as I can to where the alert was. And then I'm going to bring, oops, hang on a second. I'm going to bring my B down here. Didn't get the B. Here's my B. Here's my C. I'm going to tuck that in as close to the where we had the alert and bring this in. Here's my wedge. I'm going to make this one yellow. Make this yellow like I usually do. And we're going to take it over to a lower time frame chart. Take these fibs off for right now. And we're going to tweak it on the 1 minute. I'm going to bring this over as close to here as I can without breaching the alert. Now, one thing I'm starting to do a little bit more is that if I don't have the second or third hit, now in this case I do. I have, here's my anchor, here's my hit, my first small violation, only a couple tenths of a pip. And then here's my trend. So this is my third hit right now. And you can see it's pulling back from us. So I'm okay with just bringing this on over here because that's basically validates this upper trend line. Coming down here, and now I'm looking to see if it's going to, where my strength is. And if I look at all my charts on my 3 time frames, you're going to see that right now we have the strength to the dollar strong, which means dollar is the first currency of the pair. So if it's strong, we're looking for a break to the upside. And I'm going to check and see if there's any zones that we're looking at. Right here's a 15-minute zone, and that makes it blue on these 5. And so this is a strong zone right here. So we're looking to see if it's going to break to the top or if it's going to come back down and retest the bottom of the zone. Distance-wise or pip-wise, we only have, well, we have 21 pips. So that's a nice little range for our zone. We're going to see if this thing breaks. We have moving average crossover on the 1 minute. I want to see that happen. I want to see all these in the right thing before this thing breaks. If we get a close above the C, we can take this trade. And so we're looking at dollar strength, and let's see how the dollar is doing compared to all the other currencies. About in the middle on the higher time frame. Strong on the 30-minute. Strong on the 5, and strong on the 5. So right now we want to trade to the dollar strength. So we'll be looking at trading to the break of the upside of this thing. And get your charts ready, because it looks like this thing may be starting. And if we get a close above, if I can get a close above where the C is, and I got the close above, have a small little hook back, wait for this hook to come back and rehook again. It didn't hook. There it is. There's the break. Actually, we did have that close there. Let's see if it gives us another chance to get back in this thing. I usually like to say when we have these hooks all the way up at the top, I like to see it hook back one more time before, once we get the confirmation, I like to see it hook back one more time before I take that trade. We'll see if it gives us an opportunity to get back in on this. Right now, we're only looking at, there's 2 pips pretty much where it broke. And I know it came back about half of it. Dollar strong on all 3 time frames. You could take a shot, just do a market entry on this. 7 pips. If you get filled here, you're not going to get filled until you're up about here. See where our target is. Target's going to be up here with the A. That's at 91.10, or are we at 91.07? So I'm going to hold off on this one. See if it gives us a better opportunity to get in. If this thing breaks on the A, then the next target is going to be all the way over here. This would be the next target zone.
Yeah, before I would enter this trade, I would wait for it to come back and retest the wedge a little bit, right?
Oh, hey there, Matt.
Hey, good morning, my friend.
And see, we have a Fibonacci, no Fibonacci. This is a strong Fibonacci right there on the, so if this thing breaks, which it has broken, this thing could go to the upside here pretty well. Let me see where my other time frame is. I'm just going to let this one go right now. See if it gives us a chance. It's already kind of a left. You don't have that much room. It's 91.19. You do have your 10 pips up to the, if you got in down here, if you got in right here right now, your fill's going to be right around 12. And you're looking at maybe getting 7 pips, but it's going to have to go all the way up to this target area.
Hey, Al, I've got a question for you in the Q&A from Ruben. Ruben's back.
Hey, welcome, Ruben. Good to see you. I missed you.
He's just asking about the RCS and the fib indicators. You might just want to update everybody at once.
I have a fresh update. The way that we talked to Sal last night, we had a meeting with him, and it sounds like it's going to be it could be a few weeks before Auvoria Prime is going to be able to get it all worked out. So what we're going to do is as soon as we talk to Anthony and John, we're going to make the indicators available hopefully by next week. All we have to do is get the go ahead, and we're going to give everybody a 30-day free trial to use it. And then after, that'll give Auvoria Prime a chance to get their other indicators out in the marketplace that they're working on. They should have those ready. They had a pre-launch about 2 weeks ago, and they're still having to deal with some of the technical aspects of the coding with the developers. But they hope to have that all settled in the next week or two. And then after their launch, they'll start bundling the package with the AIRIS. But in the meantime, we got the clearance to go ahead, and we'll start allowing people to start using it, even though you're not going to have to pay for it. We're just going to give everybody a chance to use it for. It'll probably be about 30 days before it's actually going to be offered through Auvoria Prime. But we're going to talk to Anthony and John about this, and we'll see about this, at least letting it get available, since we pretty much have an agreement how we're going to be doing this. So it's coming. We're getting closer and closer every day. Now it's just a matter of we have the Auvoria Prime says it's okay to do that, and so we're just going to give everybody a free offer on this for about 30 days. So that's coming. As soon as we talk, hopefully I'll get a hold of John and Anthony today, and we'll be able to work something out with that. And that's the latest on the indicators. And they're going to be bundled. And what we're looking at doing is they're going to be offering it with the subscription with AIRIS when you have your subscription.
We've had another alert as well, Al. The Aussie US.
Okay. Aussie US.
Ascending.
A lot of action here.
Lots of action.
Good day for you to be here, Matt.
Absolutely. Wow.
Aussie US. Let me get a duplicate on this. Aussie US. Ascending or descending there?
Ascending.
Ascending.
Mm-hmm.
Ascending. So we're coming in from the bottom. We'll keep an eye on that Swiss. The CAD trade's working out nicely here right now. Still has a little bit of if you're in the CAD for some reason, my target is right now 31.95 to 3,200, 1.3200. That's okay. So this was there we go. 8 o'clock, Ace, 8 o'clock, Aussie, 8:15.
Yes.
Okay, 8:15.
Mm-hmm.
Ascending. So here we go, 8:15 right here. Ascending, we'll start down here below. I'm going to open up this chart a little bit wider. Then we have a couple options today. This is an interesting morning, busy morning. Let's see, here's my range of the overnight range. Here's my low of the overnight. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to look and see if there's a line that I can draw from this point that will connect with this. That'll maybe connect with where the bounce could be. So I'm going to take it all the way back to here, and then I'll tweak it as we go along. So I'm going to start with my ascending. I'm going to start down here. Here's my pivot high. Here's a higher low. Here's a higher high. It's ascending. Here's my wedge. I've got an anchor. I have a hit. I have a hit. I have an anchor. I have a hit. And we'll see if I get a hit here. If this thing comes down after the wedge and it just tags this and comes on back up, then I'll bring this one up here to get my third hit. But right now, this was not bad. Here's an anchor, small hit, but it's real close in before it actually took off. I like seeing this one a little bit better on that point right here. So now if this one comes down and tags it, even if it comes over here and then comes and tags it, then that'll be my third hit, and then I'll move this thing over like that. Until then, we're right here, and it's coming right into the 62. So I don't want to be taking it long or taking it short right now, even if it breaks. And I'm also looking to see, I want to see a close below the C area. So I'm going to put a couple of weeks ago, or actually last week, we were drawing a parallel line to the bottom and top trend line. I'm changing that method a little bit. And what I'm looking to do, I'm looking to see a close below the C pivot. So this is still going to be the entry to sell, but I'm looking for a, oops, wrong one. Entry to sell, here we go. Actually, yeah. So that's the entry to sell. I want to see a close below that pivot. And then my target would be down here by the A. So this is going to be my target. If it does break to the downside, this would be target 1. And then if it breaks to the upside, I'm going to look and see where my target over here is going to be. Here's the B, which is still trending on up from this area. And the next stop along the train would be, I say up around this area. That's about where the C is. Oh, here we go. I'm going to be looking, here's this nice big red wick right here. Here's the target up in this area. So I'm going to find this wick. Here's my zone. Come over here. So that would be my target. If this thing can break this whole area, this is my target up in here. And right now I'll be looking, I'm looking to see if we can get a bounce off of this on the 15. And then this up here is going to be my target zone. Come over here to my 1 minute chart. Let's see how we're doing here. Here's the bottom of the wedge. You're starting to see on the 1 minute, we're starting to get a change of the moving averages. It came back down, have a little bit of a, again, it said, I don't want to be taken along when we get the hook up top. That's because all that's going to mean is that it's going to be pulling back. You still want to get that bottom hook before you go long. And right now I'm looking at these moving averages for possible an early entry before it comes in up to here. We have a nice little trend coming on our 1 minute. We have a nice little trend coming down from here. Start up here. Oh, grab my tool. See how it's starting to follow. We have an anchor, a near hit. Here's a hit. And we'll see right now, I'm going to see if I can have an earlier entry off a bounce off of the bottom here to maybe go long. And that's going to depend on which direction things are going here with our RCS tool. Right now it's showing the dollar is still strong pretty much across the board. So we may want to think about going long on this with the downward strength of the dollar. We did have the cross of the moving averages. And the moving averages here are not in line. Basically, we want to see a green, yellow, purple, and right now they're in the wrong direction. So this could just be another pullback before it comes up and retests the top of the wedge. Really not sure right now what that's going to do. So we're going to be patient with this one. Any comments there, Matt? Or did we lose Matt?
No, everyone seems to be good.
If anybody has any comments or like to talk, and just raise your hand and we can unmute your mic and then you can come and talk to us. I know Ruben likes to talk, so I'm going to unmute your mic. So you're free to talk. Anybody else that wants to add something to I got Ryan's in there. I see he'll talk sometimes.
Hello, everyone.
And yeah, there, Ruben. Nice to have you back. We missed you.
Thanks. I miss you too. I just needed a couple of weeks to clear my head because the trading and the networking wasn't coming along as I expected. And yeah, 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, 3 weeks turned into 4 weeks. But
Well,
here I am.
we had a rough couple. There was a rough couple weeks. There was a couple weeks where I was getting whipsawed. Things seem to be smoothing out a little bit for us, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it was. We had a couple of weeks where it was just very range bound and taking stops, and it wasn't a lot of fun. But I think we're getting into a little bit better environment again. We'll see.
Yeah, you weren't alone, Ruben. There's a few of us in that state of mind.
Well, actually, Brian sent me a message yesterday that that Al told him that he missed me. So I thought, oh,
Brian, the matchmaker.
Yeah, there he
just
is.
get
Yeah.
back to it then.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Glad
And
to
like
be
I said,
back.
yeah, like I said, anybody in the room, if you have any comments or like to add something to the conversation, we don't have a huge number of people in here, so and I'm seeing a lot of familiar names coming in. So as you feel comfortable engaging with us, you're more than welcome to do so. We'll try and keep it to the topic at hand, but we will.
Well,
we're allowing
I
open
think
mics.
maybe it's a little too soon to get engaged, Al. No?
Yeah, so, oh, yeah, you're funny.
I
Right now
try.
we do have this little, when we draw the main wedges, I also look to see a wedge inside of the wedge. And you can see like right now on this 1 minute chart, now this, again, 1 minute gets to be pretty volatile at times, but you have this nice little move coming down. You have a bottom, it came up, it retests to the bottom, and now it's still retesting this slope, and we had a little bit of a hook. If this thing does break to the downside, now that I would like to seeing all these moving averages on the 1 minute sometimes can get you a little bit of an earlier entry. It's aggressive, especially when you're down this low to the bottom of the wedge. But if you're at the bottom third of this whole move, and you get it, and this thing, and the moving averages flip over, and you get a close above the 62 on this one. Actually, I'd be looking at a close above this point right here. If you can get a close above this with some strength, you may be able to get yourself into this trade earlier with a. You maybe almost be able to get your target before it ever hits this area. In fact, you could, if you get a close above, and I've been doing this a little bit here. If I get a close above this area right now, this wick, we have a nice little trend line. The moving averages are starting to consolidate on the 1 minute. And as it breaks and you get to close, you have the green crossing the yellow, you have the green crossing the white, which is a 62, and you get a close above this. Then you can put a fairly tight stop and looking for it to maybe break to the upside. And then if it comes up here and it does break, then you just have that much more to gain. On the other hand, is that if you can get the moving averages to show this pattern, we have the 62, the 13, and the 5 in this direction. Then you can look at maybe this is a pullback, and then you can maybe get a little bit earlier entry before it breaks the bottom of the wedge. Sometimes I'm finding out with the way I'm drawing these wedges, there's enough room inside to where if you can get that little flag pattern to break by the time, because a lot of times by the time it breaks the bottom of the wedge, you only get 3 or 4 pips, comes back and turns around. If you can get an earlier entry, you maybe you'll get that 7 pips about the time this thing confirms, and then you're already in it for the bigger run. So just kind of keep, you'll see that, you may see that more and more as we proceed on. The right now I'm looking, this still held, 62 still held. We still have the strength to the downside on the RCS tool, which is later going to be called Magellan. And as soon as we get this held, so 62 is up above, we get the cross of the green and the yellow, and we can get a break below, I'm going to say below this candle right here, we have a little bit of a trend. You see, if you look in this 1 minute chart, you'll see we had a nice move down, came up, and now we have another little, this like another little descending wedge. And as soon as we have as soon as that candle closes, I'm gonna take this one short.
Rajiv has his hand up when you have a moment.
Okay, do a sell stop right to this area. I'm gonna look over here, see where my chart is. Put it right there and sell stop, and whoops, trying to get in. If it comes in, and if we get a break now, because I'm looking at this thing could very possibly, it just got me in. Okay, well, I'm in short. My stop's gonna be up here. This could be my 7 pip stop is all the way up here, but if it closes above this yellow line, I'm gonna be getting out of it probably. And that's going to be, let's see, we're going to looking at a sell zone up there. And now we're looking for the target. We're looking coming over here to so right now, if we get I'm looking to where it could very well possibly come in. Now we do have to get through this 62. This could be a problem right here. But if it breaks the wedge, then this would be the target right in this area. And then you have to bring this on up to about here. That still gives me 11 pip. I still have 11 pip range till I get to this area. If it breaks the wedge, comes out, tests the C. The other thing, as I was saying, we're looking to see if it comes down and tags this first and then goes up. I said this move was real aggressive, and now that I see this 62 here, I'm not really liking this as well. Here's my 62.
Yeah, because you got higher highs and higher lows, right?
Yeah, and so the biggest thing, this would be the third hit off the trend line. Puts it right on up to where we had the close. Now it is breaking. We're seeing where it's going to hit this. We're going to get that hit.
You see your RSIs coming down.
What was that, Matt?
You're seeing your RSIs come down, so yeah. Your blue one is gonna flip.
Yeah, if this thing flips, I may just take a quick. As soon as this thing flips and hooks, right there, is that the 15-minute close? No. What time is it? 32. Not yet. That's a new candle.
Yeah. Oh, right. So we're breaking it a bit.
Yep. So this is our target down here.
That's still not that big of a break. It's like what, 3 pips?
Well, let's see, 96 to we're at 3 pip break right now. Like I said, here our C point. So the fact this trend line is now broken.
Oh yeah, look at that. Looks like orange is going down too then.
Yep, and the cat is coming up to a nice little target area. So we just got a little bit of a pop on the US dollar. Here's what we got. See where my fib line is. Nice little move down. Let's see if it's going to come by and retest this pivot down here. Let's see the cat's moving to the upside. That's a good thing. Now we have a drop. It's basing a little bit right here, and it could drop right on into this our fib zone. Right. In fact, it tagged right to fib zone. We got in above the green. It's tagging. I'm just going to close this one out because that was a nice little trade. Coming back and retesting. So right now, what we're looking at is we had it didn't really violate anything. It just followed the trend. It broke this trend, but the pivot on the C still held. We had the hook. I got out of the trade. We'll see what happens now. I don't know if we can get back in again or not. It might give us a chance to get back in. We had the break of the pivot, or of the wedge. 2 candle break, blue candle, coming up to retest the wedge. And so this, as Matt said, this is about 3 pips. Broke it at 96, came down at 91. That was a 5 pip move right there. We'll see how this plays out here. All the whole moving averages are red on this. Let's see what it looks on the other time frames. Red, still pointing down. A little bit of a hook back coming up on the 5 minute. So right now I'm looking to see if this thing comes up to the 89 area with the blue at the 89, and it maintains these moving averages and still maintains this 62, which is this orange on the 15-minute chart. We had a nice break of that. We broke the wedge. This thing could just be a nice little flag. This could be just a nice temporary little pullback to go further short. Dollar is still strong on all 3 time frames. This is the Aussie US, Aussie US. It's still maintaining the moving averages. Everything is in alignment, except we had the break of the 62 on the 15 without everything else confirming. Gotta be a little careful with that one. We do have the green crossing the yellow, but I still need to see this green moving average get down below the orange one. And we'll get there eventually. If this is a strong move, it'll get there. And like I said, the target on this is going to be down here. The first target, I want to see it, if it breaks, with breaking the wedge, I want to see it close below this 71.87 area. And if it does that, then this is the next target all the way down here at the 71.67. And that's based on this pivot down here. And that's a target right there. That's a great target. So right now, all on our 5-minute chart, let's go to the 5-minute. All of our moving averages are in the right direction. It did break and close below the 62 on the 15. And we have the 1362 crossover on the 5, the yellow cross the purple. So we have a green, yellow, purple, all in the right direction. Broke the wedge. And we'll see if this thing closes in another 2 minutes. If it closes below the wedge, again, I want to see it close below before you get real strong confirmation. Now this wedge is actually there was a lot of price action before it actually broke the wedge, which means that's one reason why this thing came up like it did. I'll probably move this. I can move this one up. I want to see it close below this one since the wedge is up a little bit higher. I want to see it close below this bottom of this blue candle. So we can get a lower close off of this area. Canadian dollar is still weak to the US dollar. The Australian dollar is weak to the US dollar. And right now, if we look at our strength meters, we're showing that the dollar is showing a lot of strength on all 4 time frames. So we want to be trading in the direction with the strength of the dollar. which is what we're doing right now. Dollar's the second currency of the pair. And so the dollar is strong, so we're looking for this thing to go short. If we come over here to the left side of the chart, let's see where the strong move originated. You can see where all these blue candles in a pretty straight up. So right here is the origin of that big move. Once we get the C's broken, that move came up, and this is as low as it came. Once this gets broken, we're looking at coming down here for the target. And looking at the price action, you're looking at right about in this area. Here's where the low came in. Here's where the bottom wick was. I'm going to make this green or a demand zone. Let's see if this thing can break. Right now we have a little bit of a wick over. We have a wick. This is a zone that needs to get broken right in here. We did have a low right here. Yeah, see this area get broken. If not, it's just going to be a head fake to the upside. Still have our split of, we have a split of 4 right now on the US and the Aussie. So it's still showing the strength to the downside. If anybody took that Canadian dollar trade, now's not a bad place to be looking to getting out of it. And we'll see how this thing plays out. I said, once I get into the trade on the 1 minute, a lot of times I like to just track it on the 5. It keeps the emotions out of it a little bit. All the moving averages are still good on the 1 minute. And so we have to get through this little green area right in here. It's got to plow through that. You see it came right down to that and bounced. Still weak on the RSIs on all 3 time frames. That's a good thing. I would not be ready to take this thing long yet. If you see this, if this thing comes back and comes up here with everything else being showing under that 40-60 range, I'd just be looking for that pullback to get the hook to take it short again. And you can see there's a little bit of a trend going on. If you look at this peak here, you have some lower humps until they both come down and meet into this -11 area. On the 15-minute, they're both still pointing straight down. Now the blue on this 15 is in the 11% zone, but it hasn't hooked yet. Any questions so far? Rajiv, okay, let me see. Rajiv, you have a question. Let me unmute you here. There you go. There you go, Rajiv. You can speak if you like.
Good morning, all.
Good morning. What can we do for you?
Good morning, Eva. So when you are going short or long, usually, let's say when you're going short in this case, like odd USD trade, you're looking for the hook to be in the bottom quadrant, or say bottom quarter, like in
Right.
32.
Exactly. Like right now, is if this thing hooked, if you were wanting to take it short here and it hooked like it did over here, if you were trying to take it short, let's say it came down and if you look and see where this thing came back and retested the trend line, you can see
Right.
like this thing came up and it hooked right here, right in this little area right in here.
Mm-hmm.
That would be okay to do that. But if you're like on this one, right on this hook, let's say you broke the trend line. Let's just use for example this green line is a trend line, which it is a trend line.
Right.
Broke that, and you're looking to say, okay, I'm going to go long, and you see this hook at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to. Then you wait. What I would suggest you do is rather than just take it because it broke it, you may want to be looking to wait for that because it's already at the 89%. These are still kind of in the middle. You may want to be looking at having that hook first, and then give you this secondary hook to get in. Now, in this case, it never really gave you a reason to get in because the moving averages are all in the wrong direction.
Right.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like right now, if you wanted to take it long right now, or take it, well, let's say it was breaking a trend line down here where it is right now, because right now you're right in a demand zone and it's trying to get through that. If you're trying to wait for a breakout, you wouldn't have to break out to where it's breaking out to the short side when it comes up in hooks to go short.
Right.
Okay. So right now, this thing, as long as these are all staying, things could just really be snaking right along in here. And what I mean by that is that I like to see, if you look over here on the RSI, let's see if we can, you're not really seeing it so much, but even like on this low, you see where you got on the 15-minute, nice hook, and then it crossed, this blue one crossed the 8 period. That's probably a good indication that maybe this down move is going to be done at least until a pullback occurs, which is pretty much like see right here where we got the crossover. You may want to start thinking about what I'm looking right now is I'm looking to see if this thing is going to just pull back enough to, if this thing starts closing above and this yellow one starts hooking, where's our green? Our green, sorry. If we get a green cross of the 13 over here, and we had this hook, you may want to start thinking about getting out of your trade. But right now, as this thing's coming up, if it hooks, stay in the trade.
Right.
Because right now, if it goes up, it says, okay, there's the pullback's done. Get the hook, and then try taking a short again, especially when everything else is saying it's still short.
Right. Right.
And that's sort of like a little bit of a gauge here. Now we did have, both of these came down. Now you see there actually a little bit of, in a sense, there's some diversion. You had a low here, you had a low here, you have a lower low here. And right now these two humps, these blue 8 RSIs are pretty much right even with a lower low.
Right.
So it's not really, I mean, if you had the lower low and say this other hump was, this valley, I could call it, let's say it was like this, using say like this 8, for example, then I say now you have the divergence, and we still might have divergence, but not so much. It's more of this seems more just flat. It's just right. I mean, it's right there. It's right even. So it makes sense that it's pulling back right now. Now the question, how deep is it going to go? We don't know. And that's the $64 question. But right now I'm looking to see if, as long as this doesn't close above, now these are still pretty far apart. So I would not be surprised to see it come up and retest this area. which is also where the wedge is. Let me take this one off. Because here's the bottom of your wedge.
Yeah, that's the bottom of the page. Yeah, I can see that.
And you see how this is coming up? Now, see how this thing's coming up towards the 89?
Yeah,
This one's still staying in the 60-40 area.
right.
This thing comes up, tags the 89, hooks, and then you get a close below one of these. Then you see these moving averages still maintain the same rate. Right now I'm looking to see if this green one, if this green can, oh, I'm getting an echo. Need to turn your, let's see, that's better. When this, let's see, what was it? When we have this green moving average, if it can cross the yellow and still keep going up, this thing's going to go a little bit deeper. I don't want, but we have a pretty good range here between 97 to where the yellow is. You have a 5 pip range here. And if I see a moving averages, is there an RSI? Yep, right here's the our pivot line. So this, I would say this is still an area, I'm still saying short on this. I'm just looking at this as being a pullback. All these are still down below the 40 range. This is still below the 40. This hook, now we're starting to get the hook on the 5 minute. Here's our hook. This could be a possible re-entry, secondary entry. If you look at this strong down move, it's still maintaining a certain channel here. It's maintaining this green, trend line, which we got from as this thing broke down all the way down, this strong move down. This is a pretty strong move. And it has to breathe a little bit too. Once it comes down, it hits an area, it's going to breathe. Now the question is this going to hold or is it going to break?
All right. Okay. I'll try a few more wedges in the next couple of days, and then I might come back to you again for some questions.
Okay, we're
Thank
here.
you so much.
Yep. Glad to have you, Rajiv. I'll go ahead and mute your mic. There you go. You already did it. Thanks. Sometimes you get a little bit of feedback through my headset. The thing I like about this trade still is that we're still following the yellow 13 moving average on the 5 minute chart. Once we get a nice little break, especially if we break through the 62 on the 15, and we have the crossover, I'd like to see this green one cross over the, actually, ultimately, I'd like to see the yellow cross over the orange one. Right now, it's still kind of in a zone. Eva, Matt, either one of you have any comments?
No, I'm just in. I'm pretty much in observation mode, trying to get back, get back to the trading realities. I spent the last, just in case no one knows, I spent the last month and a half or so away because we had a new addition to the family. So my my 3-week-old is keeping us plenty busy, and so I've been trying to get back to some type of normalcy.
It's always an adjustment.
A very big adjustment. Now, when you got 2 kids, it's interesting to say I have kids now instead of, oh, I have a kid.
Yeah. See, right now, this thing is still maintaining the trend line. It's just consolidating right now. Now, if we get a consolidation where all these moving averages bunch up together and break to the upside, you may want to start changing positions on this. This could just be that little head fake that we often get. It breaks the wedge, comes back down about 5 pips, hits an area, can't get through it, and then comes back up, and then it retests the upper part of the wedge. And right now, the dollar is still strong, although it's not as strong as it was earlier. but still showing overall strength with all these three currencies. The Aussie is starting to show a little bit, but again, this is a pullback. When you see the Aussie flip over on the 1 minute, and you're still maintaining your nice spread on your 5 and 15, that's just a pullback. You got the hook. Now, if I see a close, let's see, we got the hook. Retag this. If I can see a red candle close below this point right here. I'll use this as a reference. No, which one do I want to use here? Let me just change the colors, just make it white, call it a day. Here's like a rally. Here's a rally at base. A little bit of smaller. I mean, he's got a little push, pull back. Here's a little basing area. Here's a little basing area. All the moving averages are starting to bunch up together. This one's still kind of pointing down a little bit. It's right at the trend line. The Canadian dollar just hit its target area and is pulling back. So that means the dollar is starting to weaken a little bit compared to some of these other pairs. So right now we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Coming up to retest this. If we can get a break above this green area, this thing may just start going on up to the other side. But I would kind of expect it to maybe retest. So right now it's really retesting the C area right here. Came down, made a double. It came down, tagged it, and it got rejected again. Well, let's give it some breathing room here.
Al, there's a question. Michael is asking, what's the period for the hull?
The whole moving average is a 4. No, I think it might be 21. Let me double check that. I think they're 21s.
Pretty sure it's 21.
Yeah, 21. So right now we have this 62 up here. I'm going to move this down to this area. I'm going to use the top of this red candle. So we're starting to get the crossover here. It's back into the wedge. It broke this little trend line that it was developing on this down move. It just broke that trend. We'll see if it comes back and retests it.
Do you think we could possibly short this one again? Do you think that's...
I'm thinking more going long on it, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the reason why I'm saying that is we had this nice little move down here. We had this wick up. This blue candle just broke this pivot right here. Here was a pullback, came down. We had a little bit of a if you look on this chart right now, you can see we have some divergence. Here's your low, Here's your low. Here's a lower low. Here's a higher one. Here's your divergence. That's your divergence right there. And then we have this one over here. See that? See where that is? Lower, low, lower, low, higher divergence.
Ah.
And we had this pivot. We had this move down, came up, made a little pivot, took a lower low, and now it just broke that. So we have a new wedge that just developed here. Now we go with like this to here, up to here, and now we're going to flatten line this thing and just see what it does. Coming right down here to, well, my D is going to be subjective where you want to put it. As soon as it flips, I think right there where it's going to flip, I'm just going to bring it back up so it's in the right direction. And now we have everything's crossing over. We're right at a green fib line, crossed it, checking it. We have the cross of the green, cross the yellow. All these are bunched up. And we're back into and here's our main wedge again. I'm gonna make this a little bit different color, a little bit thicker or something so we can see the difference here. Let me make that one orange. That's the original one. We're back into it. Test it. So all this, look at this action right around this fib line here at 97. Can't quite decide which way it wants to go. But the fact that this closed above this, and we have a nice move up. Now this is a pretty strong move. And we had diversions. That's the other part that gives me pause to stay in this thing short. What I'm looking for is maybe pull back and try to this whole move here from here to here was 7 pips. So you barely got your 7. Well, you barely got 7 pips out of it. And to the upside of this thing, we have more than that. And I'm also seeing that the dollar's losing strength against the CAD. All we're moving it. We don't have the total crossover of the moving averages, but right now, if this thing breaks above, if we get a close above here, I think I'm gonna take this thing long. Actually, I take it right above to the C area. It closed above the C. And then our target would be somewhere between this area up in here. Again, I want to see this thing pull back and hook. If this thing can pull back and maintain this trend line without closing below it, that would be the hook back. Nice blue candle came down. We had a red candle came down. Couldn't hold it, couldn't hold the trend.
Rajiv is asking, can you please explain divergence again? Sorry, I missed the context.
Sure, you have a price low right here. Comes back up, makes a lower low right here. And then you look at your RSI and you see where this first low was. It came all the way down here below the 89. Next one, the price came down lower, but the strength was higher. That's your divergence. What it means basically, they drove the price down, but it didn't really have the strength with the RSI. It didn't have the strength to make it a lower. It should have made a lower low. On here, this should have been, if this was going to continue on down, this should have made a lower low with the strength. It didn't. It was less strength, lower price. Let's see. What's the yen doing these days? That's still. I'm gonna take this off. This doesn't really matter this much, but right now we're still looking at this is the major. This is the first wedge off the alert. Broke it. Let's see what this thing does. See right now this moving average, the green moving average, couldn't break the yellow one. Now it's getting stronger again. So it came down hook, couldn't close below the yellow, and now it's hooking back up again. You see that over here. It still has to break above the 62, but it is starting to show a little bit of a this would actually be the first hit. Again, I'd like to see this thing close above this area.
Al, there's a question. Is that why the price retraced due to the divergence?
I don't know. That's why. Who knows why price retraces? Other than the buyers and sellers were deciding to do that. But I would say that that's the reason why I'm thinking this thing is going to come back along. What the divergence is one reason why it's starting to get strong to the upside. When you get these divergence like this, the way I look at this is that the brokers are driving the price down to get everybody in to go short. Then they come back and they take but the strength really wasn't there. So they drive the price down, get everybody sucked in. They come back, take their stops, and take it up long. So right now, it's maintaining a little trend right on here from this BD area. Right now, it's in somewhat of a channel that's coming to a point. Now it's either going to break to the upside, which is right where I have my C, or it's going to break to the downside, which is where I'm going to be putting this one. And I said the dollar is starting to, it's starting to lose a little bit of strength. If you look at our conversion chart, the dollar was all the way up here, now it's down here. Still strong on the 30-minute chart, still strong on the 15, but it's losing strength on the 5, lost strength on the 4-hour. compared to the Aussie. Aussie's still strong, pretty much on all time frames. Keep that one in mind. But see, as you look at, if you're looking at this, we say here's a high, here's a low, here's a lower high, lower low, and now we have a higher high, higher low. Now, if it breaks this area right here, it may start come down and retest this area. Right now, it's in an area of indecision. But we did get a pass and check on this fib line right here at the 71.97 area. It came up right up to 7,200 and was rejected. Now the question is if it's going to break. So right now it's in an area of indecision. We also have this little, right over here, here's a red, here's where this whole big red move came down, which is right here where the C is. That's why I said I'm looking to see this thing break and close above this. And if it does, then I'm looking at to go up higher to probably at least to the next fib line and maybe up here to start to test the wedge. This is basically the bottom part of the wedge, and it just gave us a break, not a very strong break. It couldn't hold it, so going to keep on going. Now we're just going to see if it's going to test the top part of it. But I would rather see it break the top of this yellow wedge before I took it long, because right now it's in a sort of still somewhat in a flag pattern from the upper. It still hasn't broken through this one. You actually probably put this one up here if you wanted to, and flatten it out. I do like the fact we had a divergence, came on up past this green fib line, the 97, went up to the 7,200, came back down, retested the green line, and now we can get another higher close, which could be right here where the entry to go long is. And then we can just follow, once we get that break, then we can follow the yellow moving average, primarily on the 5-minute chart. Let me just get some of this stuff off of here so it doesn't seem to be quite so cluttered. We have our 62 right here. We're trying to see if it's going to break that 62, and that's another bit of rebar, you could, as I call it. It's got a little strength. You can see now, like on the 8 moving average, we had it. If you look at this on the down move, we had a down move. Here's a high, lower high, lower high, lower high. And now if this thing closes, it's going to break this area right here. Still respecting this one. There's a close above on the 1 minute. I'd like to see a close on the 5 better. How much time do we have on that? 25 seconds. We may get that 5-minute close on the, we got the close here. All our moving averages in the right direction. Came down, bounced off, rechecked the trend, the wedge, back into the wedge, and now it's trending back up again. We'll see if they can hold it. This is the flat line right across on the top where that, with my A up here. Actually, I can probably boot it up that way a little bit higher. But this was the strong move down where we got the close above it. This is still a little bit of a zone that we're looking at to try and get through. Still showing some strength. This little red candle, we had this, it came back, hooked, didn't even hook down, hooked above the 60. Let's see if it's gonna see if it's gonna come up and bring it on up again. Right now I want to respect this, wanted to respect this candle right here. Actually, I'll bring it down to one more. It's trading in a fairly tight range right now. Although from this low to here, let's see, what was that? We had 13 pips. And we have about 15 more, actually about a little less than 15 minutes before the market opens for the U.S. market. Any questions? We have to shut this thing down at 9:30. And then make room for, I think Susan's doing her session today at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, her session starts in 42 minutes.
Yeah, we'll get out in time for her to get herself set up and logged in, get people in the room.
I'm pleasantly impressed and happy with the way the market's been moving. It's been moving a little bit more like it has been for the last couple of years, you know? It's the last 2 weeks, like you've mentioned, have been a little bit challenging, to say the least. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who've taken some pretty significant losses.
Yeah, and a lot of times that's summertime trading too. They see that a lot in the summertime. And right now, everyone's getting back to school. Some people are getting back to work, hopefully, and we're starting to get a little bit more of a normal trading cycle. And that happens. And the biggest thing is to either know when you're in those things, either play it really safe or just stay out of it until things start working the way you expect them to. Right now, we got a nice little break coming up. This thing's starting to move nicely. And we're showing dollar weakness right now. And that's sort of going along with what the yen is doing. And so our target area is, right now the target is still the upper part of the wedge right now, is our target. You see, we had this nice little up move. Here's a little bit of a wedge in itself. And here's where you're looking for the break over on this, off of this red candle, looking for the break and close above. Also looked at this one. Came back, broke the fib line, checked it, broke it again, came back, tested the fib line, and then gave us a nice little close above this area. It still has all this area to work its way through, but and that's where you sometimes can get caught, where you have very tight ranges. And this is, again, this is only 7 pips between the red and the green here. That's only 7 pips. But that's your 7 pip target. So right now, since 9:06, it's trading in a less than 7 pip range. Every time it hooks back, it retests the yellow line. If we get a close below the yellow line, then it's going to retest the 62. And by that time, it's starting to look like it's probably starting to consolidate a little bit. We had the hook. Still maintaining this little trend over here. If it breaks and closes, may want to rethink. Right now, the yellow's holding. This area right now, this blue line is holding. And we had the break. So here's a wick, wick, wick. As I'm looking at all these wicks across, here's a wick, comes into another wick. Here's a slight body. This one, this body of this candle right here, we got the close above it. Here's a wick, wicks all the way across until we get up to this one now. Now we need to get a close above this point. And we're running the same situation now as it came to this area, came in, couldn't break through it. Now let's see if it can break through this to the upside. Again, the top of our wedge is all the way up here. What you're seeing right now, as you're looking at this 1 minute chart, it's making a high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, This is not a higher low until we get a higher high. So right now, this is our area that this is our higher low right here. Now we got a break. Now as soon as this thing gets broken, right there it is. Now I can move this over to this area. Now we have a higher high, higher low. If we get a close outside of this, here's the wick over here. Couldn't get the close right now. We did not get the close above this blue candle. We got a higher high, but it couldn't get the close. Not yet. And I said we have about 4 more minutes. Any last questions? Still trending on up. And this was the last pullback before this big move here. So if this thing breaks, it could, the next area of that I'm looking at is going to be this area up in here. This was the origin of this big move. Came back, hooked. Now if we can get, now this is a test of this area right now. If it can break, it's probably going to be heading on up to retest the top of the wedge. And if not, it's going to come down and retest this area. This is going to be a big test of what it's going to do if it can get the, right now it's in a very tight range. You've got 72.05 to 70. It's only, this is only a 4 pip range, which is only double, a little bit over double the spread. Spread's 1.6.
This is very intense. Do we go short or do we go long?
No, you sit on your hands right now. You just sit on your hands. Right now, I would not go short. I would go long if we get a close above. Right now, see this candle right here, and this candle right here made the same closing high. So I need to get a close above this area, above this candle, since that's the same one. I need to get a close above that before I'm going to be looking at this, the top of this. It probably won't be a direct. I will probably bounce around a little because we see at lower low, lower high, low, lower low, lower high, lower. It did the same thing over here as it was doing over here. But once this pivot gets broken, we're looking at the top of this. this area right in here. We have the top of this red candle where it started, where the move started down, and the wick above it. And once that gets broken, there are no more wicks until you get up to the top here. And even then, there's no wick. It just came right up and then came right back down again. Aussie's still showing strength. There's the market open. It's and we're going to go looking to go long on this. We just got a lower high close. Now I'm looking at this for the target. And on that note, that's all I can say about that. Hope everybody got something out of the session today. And like I said, we'll be back tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time. Look for the link to come in. And hope everybody has a good trading day. And we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.